Welcome to We Are Libertarians here on the Chris Spangle Show. My name is Chris Spangle. Thank you so much for joining us. And I have a general idea of what I want to talk about this episode, but if the pregame is anything like the show, we're going to cover a lot of topics, but it's going to be a lot of fun. Two of my favorite people are here, and Harry. Well, first let's introduce Harry. Harry, how are you today?
Going good. It's a beautiful day outside. I want to be outside grilling meat, but I'm actually stuck in here with you.
I know. I wish I could grill meat, but my grill got stolen. I had a big green egg, the Cadillac of grills that I got as a present for my wedding, and some criminals got into my garage because we left the car unlocked and they got my garage door opener.
So you gave it to them.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So we made a donation of that in a toolbox, but you know, I got the insurance payment that didn't cover enough to buy the new grill, but it's okay.
They didn't respect the grill enough to see. That's probably
and they threw it in the back end of their truck because there was ring footage, and they had to have broken it.
Probably need separate insurance, like they have like for collector cars, but for grills, because some of our grills are expensive, and the char that we put inside them should be respected.
Yeah,
I'm actually planning on grilling this weekend, so I've got 2 slabs of ribs, I've got a family pack of thighs I'm going to go do, and then I think that's about it because I need to get back up into good practice.
No sides,
again.
right?
What?
No sides. Just
If
straight
I'm
meat.
gonna do sides, my wife will do sides, and if she doesn't want to do sides, we just have meat. And that's not my fault.
That's how it used to be at my house, and then I got married, and now we have to have sides. No, just straight meat. All right, well, Kat, hello. You are a returning guest. You've been on, was it once? After the Dobbs decision?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
But you haven't been on a second time, right?
I haven't.
Okay, but I'm very glad that you're here, and your podcast co-host, Moni, is here.
Hey, everyone.
And you both, you are the hosts of the Fake Ass Book Club, the Fab podcast. We've been talking about doing this for over a year. The last time we had it scheduled was last April, and then I had to go to the ER for remember the neck infection?
I do remember that.
Yeah.
That was terrible.
It was really bad.
I knew you'd recover, though.
I did. After 9 different antibiotics, finally we got it down, and 2 different painkillers.
Lost a half an inch of height, but here you are.
Resilient.
They had to amputate my neck, but here I am.
Here you are.
And so we wanted to talk about literacy and reading. And first, just straight up, tell us what your podcast is about.
I feel like I always start that. Why don't you tell
All right,
You
Kat, go
started
ahead.
our podcast one day. Our origin story is one day Moni was like, I need to do something outside of the house. And I'm an introvert, so she was like, Kat also needs to get out of the house. So we used to get together every Sunday, but as lives, kids, marriages, came around, that kind of went by the side. So now we're like, this is our Sunday get-together thing where we talk about books, but sometimes we don't have time to read a book. So that's where the fake-ass part comes in. But we still need to record every week, so we'll just talk about movies or what's going on or interview somebody. But basically, our tagline is, the club is fake, but the talk is real. And then our other tagline is, we're the reason it was illegal to teach Black people how to read.
in real time.
I didn't notice you guys were black.
It was Black
Cool.
History Month, too. We're also here because it's Black History Month.
Congrats. I didn't do that.
Congratulations.
That was not on purpose, but yeah.
By the time this airs, we were live, so we're it's Happy Black History Month.
Because I hate that, when white people, I wouldn't program the show where it's like,
Let's have black
let's
people
have black people on
I
because
don't
it's
mind pandering.
February.
You can pander a little. It's fine.
Yeah, we should have pandered. We should have subbed you out for Dion. We should have shoved.
Yeah, you should have. I actually, you know
Or
what?
are you-
All the blacks.
My wife,
All the blacks.
my wife was in the hospital yesterday due to the pregnancy, which we'll get into here in a second. But I thought, if I can't make it, I'm not going to cancel on Kat and Moni again. Who could I get to come? Harry can co-host. I thought about asking Dion if he could come and be here because you two, but
Take over.
because I don't know if you've met Dion, Harry, but at least Dion knows who you are. You know him, and then they don't know you at all. So it'd be weird if they just showed up to talk. But thankfully she's okay. She's got some bed rest today.
That's the most important part that
But-
we were still able to. No, peace to Reagan. She is
thank
such a warrior.
Building
Yeah.
humans is hard work.
It's not easy.
Moni, can you just say hello for me?
Hello, for me.
All right, perfect. I just got to turn you up a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, we were talking a little bit about abortion off air, which is a great way to get the podcast started.
I mean, a little light
topics.
conversation.
But that's why I like
Big
Kat
deal.
is because Kat, we can like have our deep conversations. And I noticed about with you two, what's really interesting is I was getting Squish. My stepdaughter's here. She is in the other room. She found Gunther's toys and was beyond the moon, and she's in there playing Rapunzel with Gunther's toys.
Yay!
She's like, "Come here and look at this." I was like, "You can play with it."
So cool.
But you two just have like a natural flow of conversation. You two get together, and it sounded like you were on a podcast together. How long have you two been friends, and what attracted you two to each other right away?
Well, her blackness was something I enjoyed. No, seriously, we actually met. We both went to private school, St. Michael's here in Indianapolis, and she was actually a grade ahead of me. And part of it was she was one of the only black kids, so that was one thing. But also, she was just nice. I mean, like, she's a whole vibe. So we've maintained our friendship since the 1900s. So I'm very proud of that. We've known each other now for almost 30 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Can you imagine? So we're not trying. Like, we genuinely enjoy each other's company and love talking to each other. In fact, we'll be done recording and be on the phone after. I'm like, is this normal?
That's fun.
Like, how are we still talking?
For
we
real.
talk so much.
But Harry,
So-
that's what makes the best podcast. Like, our social group is this social group. Like, you just put this friendship on the air, and it's fun.
Correct. Yeah. The forced friendship of microphones also helps too.
Yeah, it gives you a purpose to kind of show up with each other.
Yeah.
But absolutely. Because, I mean, again, it's an excuse to talk to one of my favorite people. I mean, Kat, to me, she's one of the most well-read people. So that's why I tapped her for this, too. Because, I like to read. I'm just not, like, I don't geek out for stuff. The things that I geek out for aren't, like, it's not, it's traveling. Like, that's, and really good food. So I like leisure. I need to be a woman of leisure. I'm trying to figure out how I can make that happen. It's not working out for me because my life is the opposite of leisurely. However, this is me tapping into that, though, because I feel like the podcast incorporates some of my favorite stuff. So being around people I like and talking to them. And then, we almost always have libations or some kind of
Right.
snacks, even if it's before. If I would have had time, if I wasn't a little bit late, I would have stopped and probably bought some food, because that's just me. Like, food is a big part of my life. I cook a lot, like to eat.
Do you bring food to the podcast?
Yeah, we try to eat before, though, because
You-
we're trying to be more professional.
Look,
but
food is brought to this podcast
candy.
every week from Vincent, and you never share with me. Don't you look at me. You're the one in there eating gourmet sandwiches while I'm suffering through this
What?
diet.
Vincent is my co-host. Okay.
well, Kat did say that, because I was like, should I stop and get donuts or something? She was like, no, I think Chris is like trying to be good. And I'm like, okay, that would be rude. I
And
guess,
I'm
if he-
also fasting.
Are you?
Yeah, so I'm
What
trying
kind of
to
fasting?
So I'm just trying to give up sweets, like really processed sugar, but there was some in the margaritas yesterday.
Yeah,
so
there definitely
I
was.
took a dub there,
They're
but
great.
So Moni, Kat said you had the idea for the podcast.
Yeah.
What was the goal? What is the goal? I mean, we've done this for 10 years, almost 11 years, so it's evolved over time. But
Yeah.
you can hear. I wonder if you can hear Squish singing on the.
She's adorable.
She's very cute. What's the mission with the show?
So our mission, well, Kat's mission specifically is to turn everybody into nerds. I mean, that's one thing. She's trying to get some good PR for nerds out here.
Moni, we had to break them up because
I
the two
know
of
it.
them
They
started
were. I
talking
was like,
Star
oh
Trek.
God, yeah. Just I have to turn my head. Like, oh God, here we go.
You will see Kat on Low-Key Wall soon.
Oh
and
my gosh,
she
she
will
needs to.
out nerd Harry.
She will
think-
out nerd anyone.
I think
Actually,
if we're going to have her, we'll probably do maybe if we get you on one of the Friday shows, because at Friday shows we usually sit around and drink here.
oh, let's
So
go.
that's a
Can
little
I
bit
just
more
come
fun.
for the drink? See,
Yeah.
I'm that friend. I
Yeah.
will sit and listen to my nerd friends talk while I drink.
again,
Right?
like you're so accommodating.
Yeah,
That's
it's like,
why
this is fun.
it's always an easy hang.
Boom.
Why do you want to turn everybody? Go ahead, Harry.
I want to hijack the entire conversation
Do
right
it.
now.
No, all right,
Have you played
Harry,
any
be
of the
quiet.
Bridge Simulator games?
Look at this.
What's that?
Have you played any of the Bridge Simulator
Oh
games?
no,
Oh, so I'm not a
See,
gamer.
Chris, now we can.
she's not.
even
a gamer.
Oh, that's where
better.
it goes.
I'm not a
No, it's so you don't pay. I was surprised.
No.
Even better. There's like have you ever seen some of the Star Trek like Bridge Simulator games?
No.
They're pretty cool. So it acts like you're actually on the bridge.
On the Enterprise.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I have pictures like on the set of the Enterprise, like the actual Enterprise.
I actually have
like,
one,
So
too.
yeah, I will out nerd everyone down.
Me too.
In
I'm
order
in
to
it.
break this up, would you mind turning off the air, please? Because there's
a little
significant hum
drone.
in the audio. Please.
Depends on what temperature is the house. Okay.
Off.
Depends on what the temperature is. If it's too cold per contract, I can get the house at least 62.
Okay.
If it doesn't get over 62, then it stays on till it's set.
All right.
I think that's fair. This is why I want to turn people into nerds. That logic was sound.
You can't argue with it. It's like, okay.
You know, that's why I want to turn people into nerds. We need a little more logic in our society.
Yeah.
What other reasons?
Well, I think we all benefit when everyone is well informed. I think getting good information out there now, especially since we're inundated constantly with information, since for people who are nerds, that's what you do when you nerd out on something. You consume a large amount of information about it, and then you also have to distinguish what's real and what's not. So I think that's one of the values of being a nerd. So whatever your nerddom is, like I'm not part of every fandom, but when you are, you know what it's like to do a deep dive and learn about something. And
Yeah, because I'm nerdy about podcasting. I love podcasting.
Yeah.
That's my, probably more hairy than libertarianism, especially at this point in my life. But for me, this podcast, I like talking politics. I like talking current events. But I'm nerdy about building the podcast part. That was the stuff that I always like.
Yeah.
So everybody's got something they're nerdy about. You know, Moni, what is the thing that you're nerdy about?
That I don't know. What do you think I'm nerdy about?
You're
I mean,
so
maybe
cool.
my job. I mean, I geek out for my job. Not like I want to talk about that. What am I nerdy about?
But if you don't want to talk about it, you're not nerdy about it.
I got it. Everybody, this is the build up.
Oh.
Organization.
Oh.
She is such,
That's true. That is true.
Yeah.
I just feel like that's OCD though. Is that something we should?
No,
Yeah,
that's nerdy.
fine.
Is it nerdy? Okay. Yeah, she's not lying. I do like organization.
Yeah, we can go to the Container Store and
I can't
go
wait.
hog wild.
Oh my God. It's true because instantly I am, anytime that's true. I never thought
that's
about that.
the strength
but
you
that's
bring.
not fun. I wanted it to be something more interesting than me liking to organize.
Not everything
my
can
God.
be fun. That's why I think we make a good combo for the podcast, because you do the stuff that makes me want to jump off a cliff.
Boom. Same to you.
And because I love editing. I feel
Yeah.
Right.
I feel so powerful when I'm editing. I'll be like, this is going
Chris is
forever.
like, yes, you're damn right.
But getting me to email.
Yeah. I mean, I always love it, but
if you have emailed We Are Libertarians, you will get an email in 2 to 3 months back.
Yeah, I'm sorry. And if you've emailed me, I'm sorry. I'm just sorry.
yeah, it's like
Do you,
just forget
Kat,
about
do you
it.
do
Please
the
forgive me.
amnesty January 1st? There's just an amnesty. If
Is
it's
there?
if it's in the email box, it's going in the archive. I'm never
It's
emailing
like,
you.
Oh,
you're
yeah.
done.
It's
just
You're out of
not
here. I'm glad you found ours because I'm pretty sure I emailed you when we first,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I reached out to you.
But once again, also trying is our superpower. We will just keep badgering people.
That part. And you know what I've learned? This has been the really dope part about podcasting for me particular is consistency over intensity. You know what I mean? I feel like we've done pretty well, not because our product is always perfect. I mean, clearly there's audio stuff and lots of others, but I mean, the tenacity has been something that is okay, it builds your confidence up. You
have to have that when you're doing a podcast.
You have to have it.
You have to have
Yeah.
that stick-to-itiveness when you're doing this.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And we've already done that for years when we were getting together on Sundays. We already
Listen.
had that discipline of no matter what I'm doing,
I'm
this
coming
is
to grandma's.
before
'Cause there was
self-care was
food there.
cool, we were doing self-care.
Her grandma cooked every
Sunday.
Sunday. How am I missing that? A home cooked meal
Yeah.
by a lovely old lady. She was the best.
Yeah.
She made her hand squeezed lemonade. There was always charcuterie salads,
A dessert.
layered.
Handmade design. It was
Yo,
amazing.
I'm on the couch. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? I'm
Sounds
chilling.
like
Leisure. Yes, every Sunday.
Harry, do you have a grandma?
Grandmas are the best.
Yes.
All right, well,
That was Sunday at Grandma's house.
Yeah.
All the different
I mean, just a Black history fact. Sunday was the day we didn't have to work for massa. So that would be the day you'd make a big meal for the family and, kind of chill out. So
Feels
yeah,
good.
we still do that. I mean, she would always bring that up.
So you two, long before the podcast, would get together and hang out.
Oh yeah.
Everybody knew what I was doing on Sundays.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm at Kat's grandma's house. Don't even my dad, everybody. It was a well-known thing. So
So when did that get started and why? Did you make it?
We
Would you
already
make it a
said
conscious?
slavery.
wow, it's Black History Month.
Are you
Don't
gonna
be-
make this
don't be silly.
uncomfortable the whole
yes,
time?
That's what we do.
Like
It's
slavery?
fun.
No,
Yes.
Moni. You don't do it.
I diffuse it. I have to. Yeah, she does. I was like, okay.
That is funny. She is the one that likes to poke, and then
Yeah.
you're like the one this is just my friend. She's just
Right.
silly.
It's like, guys, we're gonna move on.
It's she's cool. No,
Yeah, exactly.
I
Don't
poked
look, don't
her.
look.
You're
No.
like in our group chat. I'll say something uncomfortable, and then Andrew Bowman will be like,
Yeah, that's me every single time. It's like, yeah, like,
Hey,
yeah.
Would you
My-
believe she's a middle child?
"My parents are fighting. I've got to make
Middle
a joke.
child. That's the total middle child.
Look at me, everything's fine.
Everything's fine here, guys.
Look what I can do with my arms."
Right, exactly. It's like that's
I'm an
the-
only child, so I'm like, I'm just gonna do whatever, and everyone's still gonna love me.
Harry, where are you
Wow.
at in the order? I'm the oldest.
I'm a middle child.
Okay.
You're responsible.
I want a
That
high
makes
five.
sense. Yeah.
Are you oldest?
Middle child.
No, middle.
Middle.
That was
middle.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Okay,
only.
gotcha,
Yeah.
yeah.
So oldest, youngest. I'm the
Squish.
seal of the children.
My wife is the first. I'm the first. Squish is going to be responsible as fuck.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Out here.
She's doing it there. She's like ringing a bell.
There's a bell on the little farm.
She's already got the right energy when it comes to strangers.
That bought us an hour.
We like it.
No. If I know the person, she's shy.
Just pretend like you know everyone.
Right.
You're like, Dad knows everyone, honey.
But if it's a stranger, yeah, she's the best.
Make it a beeline.
So, when did you just decide? You know what? We're already getting together Sundays. Let's put a mission to this.
Well, no, we weren't getting together on Sunday.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You
Like,
needed
we
a
fell
reason.
off.
It was a lot of lack.
Yeah.
It was
Because,
like,
I mean, it's sad. Like, my grandmother had to stop cooking eventually. She's
Right.
just, getting older. And then my kids get older, and yeah, life just got crazy. So, Moni being the organized person, she was just like, look, if this is going to happen, we need to be organized, and this is what we're going to do.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, sure.
well, and it has evolved because initially it was just about connecting with my
Right.
friends. I'm like, I need this time and space with my friends because we actually had 2 other people that we did it with for a little bit before, but it evolved, so it changed. And Kat is, like, we show up for each other. Like, I know that, like, her schedule, I mean, even though I have to make time for it, it's like, you know what, Sundays was always the best day for us to get stuff done. So
Yeah.
it was like, let's just meet on Sundays and let's, because at first I was like, I don't know what this podcast should be about.
Yeah.
And so that's why I ended up being the Fake Ass Book Club, because it was about us connecting. And we did have a book club at one point, an
Yeah.
actual book club where we, started off really great, reading books, responsible,
Right.
and then it quickly devolved into margaritas and talking, and
that's
so
it.
I still wanted to keep some of both of those things. But 2018 is when I first kind of floated the idea, and toward the end of 2019, beginning of 2020, we really started Fake Ass Book Club in it, and we've been doing it ever since. And I'm enjoying it a lot. Like, this has
like
been,
it.
it's been a really fun journey. And
I do better a lot of times when I listen to Moni. As I've matured, I was like, I just listen to her more. And I was like, okay, yeah, let's do that.
I think it's we complement each other because the areas where I feel like I could use a little something, she's got that, and then
Right.
vice versa. So, she's one of I will not do something if I feel like it's not how I need it to be, or I'll.
She's the Beyonce of the podcast.
It's like, this has to be, because you have a vision for it, you want it to be a certain way, and she's like, this is
And
disposable
I'm the nerds
content.
at Parkwood that
She's
no
like,
one
let's
knows
just
about.
keep doing it, throw it out there, just throw it out there. I'm like, you're right. So
Yeah,
that's super helpful.
I'm always that way where it's, Harry and I, he's like, the internet is now people just talking. Go watch Tim Pool. They don't have a script. I'm like, well, it has to be highly structured for it to be TikTokable. And
TikTok.
so it's always been that way.
Yeah, but it's not that way anymore. A lot of it has changed, and if you're trying to do it that way, like Hassan Anabi, one of the larger political streamers that are on Twitch, it's really just him in a TV screen reacting to other people's content, eating chicken nuggets.
Let's go, chicken.
It is some of the most lackluster content, but people
Love it.
Sit there and watch
But
it.
you two have found a good balance. But why books? Why? That's really what I wanted to dig into. That's
Good question.
Why?
I really feel like because it is historically an act of rebellion. Like I make that joke, but it's funny because it's true. Like the reason it was illegal and sometimes punishable by death for Black people in this country to read was because of how dangerous it becomes. Like, initially just because we can forge our own paperwork and be like, oh, I have free papers.
Yeah.
Like that was initially it. But then it was because, hey, you can learn about in this state. As soon as you touch ground in here, you're a free person and your master's not allowed to human traffic you anymore. Because it was just human trafficking. So the having the information and empowerment you get from literacy and books, like I said, it's like boring, but it's boring but important.
Yeah, I think that is definitely lost on white people. in that the privilege of knowledge and understanding. Like, I have a neighbor who's 2 doors down. She's Black, and she has in her attic. She's like, I just wish my grandkids wanted these books, but they don't care. But these books are the books. These are the 5 books that my great grandfather had that taught him to read, and it was
such a gift.
And so like she was explaining to me one day, she was like talking about the privilege of like what an amazing opportunity it was for him to have those the opportunity to learn. You know, I mean, Frederick Douglass is a hero to both you and I, but you especially, Harry. Like, Frederick Douglass was given the opportunity to sneak in and learn to read, and he became, I think, the greatest writer and libertarian in American history.
Yeah, great. Well, like at the time, he was with the abolition movement for the at the Republican Party when it was the abolitionist party, and then which I think I always looked up to Frederick Douglass because like
Sorry, I gotta go talk to Squish.
Okay,
no
worries. Too many bells.
Those darn kids.
All right, yeah, but like I really because when Frederick Douglass, like right after the freedom from slaves was done with, he immediately put that sign down, walked across the street, and started advocating for the rights of women immediately. It was just like, okay, we've did this, now let's just move on, next thing. And that's another reason, like, I gave huge respect to Frederick Douglass.
Yeah, I feel like one of his affairs was she was a suffragette, and that was.
He's an icon.
Cool.
Honestly, my son is really into him right now too. He's in 5th grade, and they have to do a speech. It's a big thing that they do in 5th grade, and he picked Frederick Douglass. It was either him or it was going to be Benjamin Banneker, but they had to memorize a speech and have to embody, the energy of that person. And he picked "What's the 4th of July to a Negro," and my heart swelled with pride. Okay, because he memorized it like that, and he's really into it. And so, I would venture to say that even for across the board, people devalue reading in general because think about all of the content that we have. Because
it's not as stimulating and it requires more of you.
Exactly. I think it's just one of the harder sort of mediums to get into. It's so much easier to turn on. Especially now, like we have smartphones, we have access to so much.
But to me, it's like a form of time travel. So to me, it's the only way I really can time travel, which Star Trek has made me want to do. And so
back to Star Trek.
Yeah, back to Star Trek. But no, it's really one of the ways to do that. Like to me, it's so stimulating, so interesting. But are you an avid reader, Harry?
Yes. So like one thing that I really got out of my education was the ability to know that I can learn anything I want as long as there's a book. I can pick up that book and I can read that book and understand what's going on in that book. My teachers did a great job of just telling me like, the education is free. You can go and pick up a book. The piece of paper is what you pay for. The piece of paper that proves to somebody that you that you learned something. Like you learned something. But
what's the last book you read?
The last book the book I'm reading right now. The last book I read is it's called Not So Six Easy Pieces. It's a physics book by.
Could you say that again slower?
6 Not So Easy Pieces.
6 Not So Easy Pieces. Okay.
Got
It's a physics book.
Sorry, I listen slow.
Yeah, it's a beginning physics books.
Okay.
The book I'm going through right now is I'm reading Quantum and The Search for Schrodinger's Cat. It's about the histories of quantum mechanics. About how when they were getting all the scientists together to be in the early stages of going from Newtonian physics to this what we call modern physics. Which I'm not a physicist.
I was just getting ready to say. So
I love that.
I wouldn't think
we
to
talked
pick up
about
physics
Schrodinger's cat on our program because you read enough, it comes up.
Correct.
And because
Can you explain it for those who don't know?
So
I totally know, but explain it to me like I don't.
He knows exactly.
So
I only know because
so the Schrodinger guy, is it indeterminacy or indeterminacy?
Yeah, indeterminacy of it's the.
Yeah, it's a cat in a box with a bomb, and basically while it's in there, you don't know if the cat's alive or dead, so it's both at the same time because you never know when you're going to have a box full of dead cat. So
all I'm thinking about is bomb ass box.
Oh wow!
Sorry,
another podcast too much.
Sorry, too much pat down.
Yeah, no, this is science, Chris. This is serious.
Oh my god!
And the brilliance of it, like the act of it, the
I don't know. Did I describe that right? I feel like that was
it's
really
close. It's close.
Yeah,
it's fine.
That was how it's in my brain.
But the thing is, it was a thought process to try to.
Yeah, it's a thought experiment.
Yeah, to get basically Albert Einstein to understand or try to help discredit quantum mechanics and quantum physics, and when they presented that to Einstein, he just kind of sat there for a second and went, "Okay, this makes sense now."
Nice.
Can I nerd out real quick?
I mean, I don't think I can stop you.
So
I'll try if it's too far.
I took physics in high school. And so we went on a field trip to Kings Island and had to do the physics of Kings Island.
Cool. What a great way to
fun
learn.
way to do it, though.
You.
I wouldn't have gotten a D in that class.
See, exactly.
But we were the dorks at Kings Island with the daggone protractors and
That would have been fun.
and workbooks and things like that.
Excuse me, I need to measure your tracks.
Well, no, because we'd have to stand there and do that. But it was that class was the first time science became alive to me because we could do experiments that showed the physical universe. That's why we talk about gravity all the time on the show because I'm because
no one's dying over here.
Harry
He's
is ready
what?
to join your show. Harry's ready to leave the network.
Harry, I shut it down though sometimes. It's okay.
she does. It's okay, boo nerd.
Right.
Because gravity.
But that sounds great though.
Yeah, gravity is a force.
Said gravity and Harry swooned.
I know. I was like, wow, what's happening over
is
here?
Fascinating. It affects our passage through time. That's wild to me.
Well, she does like to remind me about that.
No, I think
there was a couple of things that we had in the chat room. I spent a day I think a day learning about HVAC systems in outer space because of how gravity doesn't move and how they have to use this liquid to move heat and cooling on the space station. Brilliant little rabbit hole to go into. Something I probably will never use.
But you know now.
It's because the algorithm knows what to bring to me, and stuff. Because one of them was an article about how people use the bathroom in space because you basically have to use vacuums, and it was wild, right? Well,
Moni, was there a moment in your education where, so for me it was Mr. Binge in 11th grade, standing up in front of the class in world history going, power is an illusion. Because you all could overrun me right now and walk out of class because there's 20 of you and one of me, but you don't do it because you think that I have the power. And that was the first step to libertarianism. Was there a moment in your education, Kat, where you were like, oh, wow, I'm really into learning. I'm really, blows your mind and you almost become addicted to it?
No, I didn't. No, I have to. That's what I'm saying. No. It was largely. I was just trying to get the hell out of there. I didn't really. I think not until I went to school. So I do medical imaging. I got to geek out a little bit with the physics and stuff like that because I've always liked science. So learning about how I feel like I'm a practical learner. I like learning about stuff that I'm gonna actually do. You know what I'm saying? So for me, it was oh wow, I'm literally learning the science behind how these machines work, all of that kind of stuff, the kilovoltage, the milliamperage, all of that kind of stuff. So probably not until I went to college, honestly. I don't remember any real formative stuff that blew my mind. Certainly not in high school. I think partly because of the environment. It was a huge high school. And it wasn't I had that one teacher that was there's something special here. It was I'm just here, you're here. We're just here. You know what I mean? They're no, you're perfectly average and you're probably, whatever.
Did you all, I went through a period, in my 20s where I just didn't read, didn't learn. I would listen to radio or podcasts, but it wasn't intentional. Now I intentionally try to, have a system to learn and read and make sure that I do that. Or did you kind of keep up with your reading and make sure that it was a constant discipline?
No, I think for me, I've always enjoyed reading, and I made some time for it, but it was not ever, again, I'm not the nerd one like that. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I like book clubs though, because I feel like it is important. I think it's important, but it's not always the most.
It's like working out.
Interesting thing. Yes, but once you start doing
good
it,
for
it's
me.
Okay.
Yeah. It's oh, I feel better.
So yeah, I've always kept people around who I feel like are, slightly more brilliant than me because I feel like, the company you keep is important. It gives you something to aim towards. So for me, I feel like a lot of my friends have these, fancy jobs and degrees and stuff. And I mean, I have a degree, but it's, for me, my thing is really building relationships. I think that my thing is more interpersonal. So I'm good at making friends. I'm more
she stayed reading books.
I stay reading books.
She never fell off.
No.
Because if anything more. Like it increased, I feel like maybe in your 20s.
Like now.
Yeah.
Just now,
it's
like I
always
would
kind
say,
of gone up.
it's
But
been-
there's never been, and for me, I've been, ever since I've been able to read, I've been like, give me more books. And then they started the Book It program. It's like, get free pizza.
Fuck yeah.
Man,
Pizzas, that was
try to
nice.
keep stuff. I read when I'm not supposed to. Like,
Okay.
yeah.
Where?
So I would get, in my
Sex
20s,
or-
I would, wow. There's been times.
Boring. Oh my
Where
God,
I
can
wish
you imagine?
Right where I wish it's like, I wish I was reading.
on. Let's get into a good
but,
Like you flip over, I got something else to do.
No, I would say in my 20s, I had jobs where I could read on the job. I've had, even in my office job, I remember before, because I'm old enough to remember before the smartphones and stuff like that. Like I couldn't sit at my desk and be reading a book. Like my
Right.
manager would get mad. So I started printing out pages on the printer
Using
and just
that
had
paper.
books that looked like I was doing like paperwork, and I'm really reading like Arabian Nights or something.
I used to buy the trade paperbacks so I could put them in my pocket. Now I've got the Kindle. Were you the Kit Kat? Like I would walk out with the book stacked under my chin at the library.
No, I knew myself enough to know that I wouldn't be able to keep up with all of them, so it would just be one or two at a time.
Now are you I've got to start and finish and then move on to the next one, or are you like I read like 50 different books at a time?
No, I'm a completionist. Because I get obsessed. I'm like, especially if it's good, I'm like, oh, I'm totally into it, taking notes, like all that stuff. But and then with audiobooks, because I used to have books on cassette. Like
Yeah.
I used to actually like have my Walkman. Yeah.
Fiction or nonfiction?
I could no sooner choose a favorite child.
Okay, all right.
I could choose a favorite child. Oh.
Yeah, I'm all nonfiction. I think I've read one nonfiction book.
And we noticed that
since
with
high
our
school.
male guests quite a bit.
Really?
They're not really into fiction as much.
Why do you think that is?
I think it might be they're just dumber.
Ooh, hot take.
Miss Sandry will not be allowed on this podcast, just like misogyny will not be allowed on this podcast.
No, I'm just joking. I think we're just different, and it takes a certain amount of imagination, and a lot of people just don't like things can be like with Star Trek. I get why people don't like Star Trek.
Right.
It's just too fantastic. It's like okay, there's like these blob monsters. What's going on? And for me, I love going there.
Yeah.
Like make it as weird as possible. So that's why I like fiction fantasy. But at the same time, I love a real story. Like there's not, we have a segment Stranger Than Fiction. Because a lot of times, one of my favorite writers said that it's like writing fiction is hard because it has to make sense. Real life doesn't have to do shit.
Yeah, so you guys, we'll get back to the fiction nonfiction debate, but just to be clear, like on your podcast, you have on authors. Do you pick a book every episode still, or do you kind of mix it up? Like, but you're intentionally talking about a book, an episode, or talking to an author, or like, is that the general vibe of the show?
I have stats. So like last year we did 52 episodes and we read about 28 books.
Okay.
But in between, it was like movies, shows,
Right.
and interviews.
See, that's where I get most of my fantasy comes from watching television with my wife and, in the evening. But reading to me is utilitarian. Like, I've got to learn about a subject for this. So I just don't, like, I've started Game of Thrones and I enjoy it. But, like, reading to me, that's why I do a lot of nonfiction. It's like there's a purpose to it. What
So
about you?
are you reading Game of Thrones?
I'm reading, like, last night I was like, I just don't want to read about, like, I'm reading, my choice was, like, 4 different nonfiction books, and I was like, I just don't want anything heavy. I just want to like
Got it. Yes.
read something silly because I'm just not in that mood. But most nights I'm like, all right, let's read about Shinzo Abe and the near history of Japan. But
Right.
Abe is a
he's
It's like,
it's
I
an amazing.
an amazing man. That book is dry as dirt, but I got like 1.5 chapters left, and I'm gonna finish it.
Okay, I don't want to get into that.
Anyways, but Harry, what about you? Is it fiction, nonfiction?
Nonfiction paper, fiction audiobooks. I will only listen to fiction if it's an audiobook. For some reason, the idea of holding
The lies.
a book of lies, basically.
I can't sit still and like get into it, or it's also a combination. If I get real into it, I'll zone out and be in that world and just do it, and we'll just chew through it. I started that addiction in it was like '98 when I got into the Animorph series. I did leave with the whole stack at the library with the entire. Every Animorph book or book I could get my hands on, but like even now, like when I picked up like the World of Darkness and Me series or the what is it, like the Harry Dresden files? That was like the last like fiction paper book I was picking up, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go to audiobooks with these. This way I can hit play and go do something else.
Yeah, that part.
Do you ever see yourself writing a book?
I thought about, but I'm a terrible writer.
Yeah, me too.
I make great stories, so I write stories for tabletop RPG games.
Okay.
Yeah, so I am a
Dungeon Master.
Dungeon Master, yes, yeah.
Oh, okay. I was never allowed to play Dungeons and Dragons. It was the devil.
Oh, okay. See, I learned how to play D&D at church.
Weird. See, we have different churches. Yeah.
I would definitely like to write a book someday. I'd like to write a book about podcasting, and I'd like to write a book kind of about and they wouldn't really be for other people. Like I want to write the book so I read this book, How to Blog a Book.
Okay.
And so for my podcasting podcast, it's kind of I got started on that track where it's like you write a blog to turn into a book, and the process of like thinking it through in a very systematic way, I could then use for my podcasts. So I'd like to do one for this where like I'm really exploring my beliefs about politics and history and religion, and like I'd like want to write a book to kind of like solidify that for myself. But I don't know that I'd ever release that. It would just be sort of like an activity to get myself to do it, but I just don't have time to write. Like I'm too busy editing. Yeah, like
So Vincent's just finished up his book of like a couple of months ago.
Okay.
It's been at his editor. It's now on my desk because I need to finish his synopsis, which I haven't finished yet because I'm also a terrible writer. So trying to I've been trying to get him alone so I could just like I've been trying to do that like voice his synopsis. Like here, this is the synopsis of your book. I could rather say it and then because me putting it down, because me putting it down on paper is like this is awful. I'll hit delete, and he's just like stop it. I'm like oh that's ugly. This is terrible writing.
I'm deeply, deeply fascinated by the process of writing and writing as like a daily habit, and that's like something I really want to do. All right, let's take a quick break real quick. Gunther just walked in, and we're going to say a quick hello.
I was like, hi. I was like, I think I see somebody walking up. And I kept looking. Oh, yay, friend.
Did you hit a beat?
Sometimes.
Do you not have a BRB screen?
Welcome back to We Are Libertarians here on the Chris Spangle Show. We are talking with our friends Kat and Moni from the Fake Ass Book Club, and also Harry Price is here. And in the background, if you hear any adorable conversation, that is Gunther and Squish having a conversation and playing and being very cute.
Serious business.
So we were talking about if you would like to write a book. But yeah, I mean, I write a lot. I write a lot of copy. I write a lot of just stuff. Grammarly says 56,000 words a week are checked. So I'm constantly writing, but it's like superfluous. It's just like YouTube descriptions and podcast descriptions.
So does that count, Chris? Because I thought about that as well. So I think it's interesting that you're saying, like, you're good at reading something and saying, here's the story, right? Like, I think Kat's excellent at that. I have so many words. It's like, well, what's the moment? How do we gather this up very succinctly? So I think that is a vibe. But, you know, I'm noticing I'm writing a lot too. And it's like, my show notes are, like, why are they this descriptive? Like, nobody even cares. But it's like, I feel like if you go into the show notes, like, I want you to be able to reference some of the things we talked about, because you might not go look them up. But if I put them right here, I'm making it easy for you.
There's people who can't listen to the podcast.
There you go.
Know, we've had a lot of people. I'm doing full transcriptions now because I can afford for us to do that, because we've all the years had people ask, like, and it just helps people. I think when you have a description like you're saying, they can make a decision on what to listen to. But
for sure,
so I do write all day. Like, I'm mostly a writer, but it's not in a way that I would. I'd love to write a nonfiction book at some point.
Right? Yeah, I could feel that. I definitely could feel
How
that.
many like what's your reading habit? Like I've definitely built my own reading habits. I'd love to hear how you guys kind of like go about reading. How do you find the time? Your moms, you work, your dads, you work.
So I think for the podcast, for the most part, we do audiobooks.
Yeah.
So when we're in transit, like I always say, I tell my kids to rate and tip me on the Mom app because I'm just their Uber driver. And so, from going from place to place, a lot of times when I'm doing chores, listening to audiobooks and podcasts. Yeah. But as far as like sitting and reading, because every once in a while there won't be an audiobook for something we've picked. So to have to sit and read, I'm a introvert, so I find tons of time to be by myself. I'll just like a lot of times when I'm just sitting in the car waiting for the kids to come out, like if I have a book, pull it out, read it before bed. Yeah.
That's why I like early release Wednesdays at my daughter's school because you get there early, you can sit there and be in line and just read.
It's such a peaceful moment.
Oh man.
It's just that moment you steal for yourself. Where
I had another conversation with somebody who's like, the line is my Zen moment.
It kind of has to be because you're just stuck there. You realize I'm trapped and it's like,
it's like, I'm just here now.
Isn't that kind of interesting where it's like we have so little silence and so much movement in our lives that when you have those little moments of like sitting still, you're like,
this is awesome.
holy shit.
It feels great.
This is awesome. And we, I still like going to the library.
We went yesterday and it was closed. Security let us know.
It's one of my happy places. Like, even if I don't even get anything, sometimes just walking around looking at books is just very soothing. Same thing, half price books, like just seeing what they have. Like, it's a good day. It's a good day.
Dangerous.
If I have time to go to half price books.
I realized about 3 years ago that when my parents would fight as a kid, I would ride my bike to the library. Oh. And so, because I was trying to figure out in therapy why I have so many books and why I love shuffling the books and I'm constantly...
Oh, you're like Matilda.
It is a...
Chris, we got Chris's origin story. He's Matilda.
Dion Curry has a comment for you. It said, effing nerds.
Thank you, Dion.
Right.
We knew you knew.
So like shuffling the books is like a soothing thing for me because it was just like the library was my escape. I love reading. I read 2 hours a night before bed. Like I'm a big Kindle guy. I will
Paperwhite or the Fire?
Oasis. But the
See,
Paperwhite.
this is where I have to fight you, Chris. I hated the Kindle.
Really? Why?
I like physical books.
I do too, but there's some like at night with a like Reagan next to me with when your partner
logistics,
is like I'm up for an hour, so I can't be on my phone playing TikTok videos like I really want to.
Maybe that's why I'm single. I was like,
Maybe you won't turn that light off.
I sure won't.
Were you as a kid? I would have my flashlight reading.
Yes, in the car. Like if we were on a road trip. Like when I found they had those little clip lights. That go over the, I was like, yes.
I just bought one last year because I was like, because I can. I want my own.
This is mine.
Every once in a while I've had to do like the Kindle app, and it's my least favorite way to read.
I don't like the phone, but the Paperwhite is like reading a book to me. Like and
I should love it because it's like that's how they read on Star Trek.
Yeah.
So I should love it, but no, I love a book.
Yeah. All right, let's get into it. Is listening to an audiobook reading?
Yes.
No.
Dion tried to tell us it wasn't.
I mean, because you're not
Dion's wrong a lot.
actually reading. You're listening to it, but I don't think that one is superior. Like I think as long as you're getting the information, you're still taking it in. I think some people can't do audiobooks because for whatever reason. Because I think one of
our brains
guests,
are different.
Yeah, our brains
I've heard
are
that from a
different.
lot of people. Like because some people can't do podcasts. Like they just don't like people in their ear.
Yeah. And I love talking. I love listening to people talk. So it works for me. And like she said, a lot of times I don't have time to sit down and physically read a book. I'm so easily distracted, you guys. Squirrel.
That little
So-
I noticed about 2010 after I got the smartphone, my reading ability and comprehension went way down because my brain's going, what's going on over here?
Yeah, see that part. It's not even that. It's just, it doesn't even matter what it is. It's hard for me not to be in the moment. So if my kids are in front of me, I can't ignore them. Like I feel like I have to be engaged. So for me, it's like if I find a moment to sit down quietly, it's usually at the end of the day and I'm tired. And I'm not usually probably going to read. I'm going to go to bed. So
Did you like it in school, like when the teacher would like read to you in class?
No.
You didn't like that?
Oh, I did.
I love
I liked
that.
it.
Well, define that.
So, like, there would be a part in the day, like, where our teacher would just, let's say, like, the one I really remember is, like, the Little House on the Prairie series. So, like, it would just be quiet time, and she'd kind of turn the lights down, we put our heads down, and she would just read.
I don't know that I ever had that. I don't remember it if
remember that.
they did that.
Oh, yeah.
that too. I liked that.
Yeah, to me, that was deeply relaxing, but for some people, they hate it.
Yeah.
Like, they don't like being read to.
It's like, that is...
Yeah, but
dare
to
you.
me, I've always found it deeply, deeply relaxing.
Yeah, I am able to consume a lot of books and get through a lot of books because of audiobooks. But it's probably 50-50, and I do think it is reading because the point is to get the information in your head. But I will say that my retention rate with audiobooks is probably 60% what it is if I'm reading. But what I will do is I'll get the audiobook and the Kindle, and then as I'm listening, I will go, and I'm a big highlighter, and so like physical book or Kindle, I'll have 100 highlights a book, maybe more. And so I'll get the library version of the audio and the Kindle, or I'll get the Kindle, or I'll buy it, and then highlight the information that I want to retain, and then I'll port it over to something called Readwise, which is this app that every day you get like 12 different past highlights, so it like helps you remember the information that you highlighted. But I do think that it's all consuming the information. But if I noticed yesterday, I was like listening to an audiobook as I was driving and I was zoning out, so I just rewound it 10 minutes and turned on music because I was like, you're not
in the right mind state.
I'm not just trying to breeze through it. I'm trying to get the information in my head as opposed to just hit the goal.
We were talking earlier about like why people don't like reading. And I think one of the reasons is because you have to shut down your own narrative to step into someone else's. And that's why I've always considered it a meditation, because you have to turn your brain off
That's
for a
so
while.
easy for me, guys.
Like, yeah,
super
and for
easy.
me, it's super easy. I'll zone out super hard and not hear people talking to me. Like, I'll just be gone. But I came up with a good question. Like, what's the book you've read the most? Because I feel like you don't really know a book until you've like read it 3 times. So, like, do you? And a lot of people don't even reread books or rewatch movies. But when I'm a little bit of a
I have a definite answer. Harry, do you have an answer?
I'm trying to think of a book that I've reread that isn't like a technical manual, because I have probably read technical manuals over the
I'm not going to count that, Harry.
I mean, I hate to
And
be
I
like
don't
judging,
know
but
why.
you're right.
I just-
Technical manuals, like that's I hate reading stuff like that. I don't want to
You're
be
right.
like this is ridiculous. I don't want to read.
Moni threw up.
I'm like, yuck, that sounds terrible.
My aunt used to always say, all words, no pictures.
like,
I'm telling you,
I don't want that.
reading the book of Nothing But TCP/IP Technology, it's a 24 chapters, and it's amazing, and it goes into in-depth detail of how Ethernet works. And it's amazing.
Okay,
That
I
does
was
not
joking
sound
about
amazing.
the
That
fucking
sounds
nerd part, but
awful.
Dion's right. You're a nerd.
That is
Everybody can
terrible.
be as cool as Dion.
God.
Mine is the #1 book that I reread every year at Christmas time is A Christmas Carol. I think the book is so much better than any adaptation, including the Muppets Christmas Carol, which is supreme.
That's pretty good.
The writing is superb. The way that he tells the story is amazing. The moral of the story is amazing. The second book that I've read the most in my life is All Over But the Shouting by Rick Bragg, who's this Southern author who's an amazing storyteller, has written several books. Really love that book. I read that probably 10 times in my teens and 20s. So, but the Christmas Carol for sure. I read that every year because I really like that. The Bible, I guess.
I knew you were going to say that. I was like, somebody's going to put the Bible out there. I don't
But
know who's
that to
gonna
me is
be.
like a cop out, right?
Yeah, okay.
It is.
Yeah, that's like a
The
cop
Holy
out.
Bible.
It is. Unless
Chris.
you're reading in Hebrew, then it's okay.
What's the book that you most recommend to people? Oh, the Bible. Okay, all right.
It's like, give me a break. Now,
It's like, I haven't heard of that. Who wrote
I mean, that's also a boring book. Like, I don't want to read that.
It's also missing chapters.
It's right. It's not the whole thing. It's like, I'm sorry. Maybe that's Christian school.
Well, what have
K
you
through
read
8.
the most?
I don't reread books. I'm one of those people.
Oh,
remember,
you're one
I'm
of the-
trying
you're
to.
done.
I'm learning that that's a thing though. But the one book that I did end up rereading because of the podcast was Feast of All Saints, which we haven't reviewed yet on the podcast. That's a
we're supposed to do that
fiction.
for Black History Month, and it is pretty much.
We were
over.
supposed to do it for a whole bunch.
We're
of
supposed
stuff.
to do. We're supposed to do a lot of stuff.
but
actually.
it's a fake ass book club.
It
so
is.
It's fine.
Kat, what about you?
I think the book that I've read the most is Alice Walker's Possessing the Secret of Joy.
What's it about?
Oh, no. Chris, don't ask.
I've never heard it. You have a 2-minute time limit based on Moni's reaction.
2 minutes on the clock. Go. Okay, so it's about female genital mutilation.
All right, moving on to the next. So Dion
A little
says,
light conversation about that.
Dion says reading and listening aren't the same thing. Because I asked the chat, is listening a book reading? Anna,
It's audio reading.
Anna says, depends what the book is. If there's some theoretical book that you need to reference, it's nearly impossible to do audio. But fiction, it steals something from your imagination a bit. The interpretation does it. And then Sherry says, absolutely. There are studies showing that audiobooks are the same as being read to and helps children with comprehension, which is a key reading skill. Also, Sherry, a librarian, says, putting on my librarian hat, if you're in Indiana, you can get sets of books for book clubs through Novel Conversations. Look up Novel Conversations. It's predominantly fiction, though there's some nonfiction.
fiction.
Your library will get you sets for you. So Novel Conversations.
I will say that the physics books on audiobooks, I think I have had to stop my car on I-69.
The most dangerous.
Pull up the book, the physical book, because the audio sits like, the what? And I have to sit there and I can't not leave until I figure this out.
What I do is I take screenshots of stuff I want to reference later when I'm listening to a podcast, because that happens to me all the time where I'm driving and I'm like, oh, I want to look this up later.
I can't imagine listening to what you're describing right now. Honestly, I'm having a hard time with it. Friend.
But thank you to everyone who commented, because that was good information.
Ron says some people comprehend by listening to themselves. So yes, I'm one of those people. I like to talk it out.
Okay.
Well, there's also YouTube is also built on a lot of video essays.
Yeah.
One of my favorite video essayists is Aiden Paladin. She makes amazing videos, and she has an amazing, great. I fell in love with Aiden for her sources, because she was just source everything, just pages and pages of sources. And but it's some great detail and a lot of statistical information. But it's probably going to go by the wayside once you finish her doctorates, so she's not be able to study and have access to all these really great sources.
Yeah, podcasting, it can be conversational like this where you don't have it, but if you're doing something like YouTube or a podcast, it's writing, man. It's researching and writing like you did when you were in school.
It's crazy. I didn't. Yeah, that was surprising.
That was surprising.
Yeah, the amount of work in podcasting, honestly,
because
was
people tell
surprising.
you oh, it's a lot of work. It's I've worked hard before. It'll be fine. I was oh no, this is a lot of work.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then we still do it.
Yeah, we still,
So
of
it's
course, try. I mean,
I still like it. Everything's work, so just find the kind you
is.
like. That's
It
my
is. You get to choose your work.
Yeah, you got to fill your time with something. Choose wisely. It's the main reason why, I do a lot of my own car maintenance, and I choose around the same type of car because it makes the job easier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you read up on it and stuff? Or
Yeah.
see.
Yeah. When I first took my first engine apart, I didn't know how to put it back together. I actually had to read to put it back together.
That sounds. I don't like putting stuff together
I do
either.
It's fun.
I think I get that
Puzzles.
honest.
It's just a big
Cars.
puzzle.
Weirdly
Yeah.
enough, do not like puzzles, like jigsaw puzzles.
See, that's what I'm saying.
No.
You do not. You don't like.
I don't have the
Now.
attention span for that.
Word puzzles. Everyone listening, make sure you follow us on YouTube so you can see my Wordle every day. I get the Wordle every day, and I record myself solving it. You're welcome.
I will say, taking the engine apart and learning how to put it back together has made me, when I solidified that I knew the woman I was dating was going to be my wife, because I took the engine apart, left it on the dining room table, and she came home from work with this engine apart in the dining room, and she just kind of looked at it and just kept going.
Yeah, you found the right one.
It was like
You found the right one.
I would have had to at least ask, what is this and why is this? When are we? So can we talk about the timeline on when?
I wouldn't even need to know. I was like, I'm leaving you forever. we wouldn't even have to have a conversation.
Lacey is a
Fixing
saint.
the car and saving money, I'm okay. But this is not going to be an indefinite project. That's what this is not going to be, because I can't.
Yeah.
I won't be able to live.
Lacey's a saint, a patient woman,
Is that right?
Yeah.
See?
rivaled only by
so.
Reagan, who has a much worse.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. But I do think, you were asking earlier about guys and why they don't necessarily enjoy fiction. I think that it's a level of practicality involved, because even when I was asking my brother, he's like, if I'm going to spend my time, I want to feel like I'm making it count. I want to learn about things that I don't know about. You know what I mean? So,
but I always say there's a case to be made for abstract thinking, because there's so much to learn from outside of ourselves. Because to bring back to Star Trek, like that's what helps to keep you from I realize a lot of my own prejudices because I'm seeing a narrative played out that I'm in, but it's not exactly me though. Like I can see myself a little clearer because I don't have my biases chiming in.
I wonder if
maybe
it's hard to break in. It's why they just make a million Marvel movies now. Because like if you said to me, go read a fiction book, I'd be like, I guess I'll get Game of Thrones because I like that.
You know the characters.
But like I don't know. I just wouldn't go to the library and just pick a book off the shelf in the fiction section.
Yeah.
Like
Science fiction section.
Yeah. And that's another reason why like Japanese manga has gotten like huge because of like there's tons of different number ones, there's tiny little series, and a lot of them are self-contained without 30 40 years of backlog crap that you may not need. It's just the reason why like most modern American comics suck, because you don't know where to start. They have rebooted it so many times. You know, is this New 52? Did this Flashpoint? Did this happen? But which Flashpoint? Well, which Green Lantern are we talking about? You know, but
that's why you got to stick to Archie comics.
I loved Archie comics.
That's how I read most of my book. I wrote down Mark Twain, but it was Archie.
That's probably why I'm friendly towards the concept of polyamory, because that's basically what was going on.
Wow.
I mean, not for but like I'm just not openly rejecting it for people like you're crazy and be like, yeah, I saw this play out for a while. It was so weird. Like looking back now, I'm like, I just was reading this as a child. And them both sipping out of that milkshake. I was like,
and then
he'd
crazy. Walk to the other table and sip out his
it's like, hey.
What?
Yeah, that's one of the things I used to like, because this was back when you could buy comic books at the grocery store, and that would be my thing. I'd get those, I
almost got her an Archie comics, but you just made me rethink it.
I mean,
I've got those hiding in the basement. I'm going to go put those.
There would be some wild stuff in there. I mean, you get away with more when it's cartoons.
I had the biggust crush on a girl in high school that looked like Jughead. Is that
really?
A problem?
That is weird. Well, that his girlfriend. It's funny you didn't say Jughead's girlfriend Esther, because she looked like him. So why not? Like you could have had it.
There's a weird thing, Harry. Have you noticed with libertarians where they date somebody who looks like them?
Oh, you're just in love with yourself. That's fine.
I don't know.
Love yourself.
I don't notice that. You know.
Sherry says, looking for cheap physical books. Libraries typically have book sales in April. They sell the stuff we weeded out in donations. If you're in an indie, they have a huge sale.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. I guess for me, yeah. I probably don't read a lot. I do read like classical, like the Iliad. Like I've been in that for like 2 years.
Novels? Brought up? No, there's like some really good graphic novels.
I just read one called The Plot about the Protocols of the Elders of Zion that I'm going to eventually get a show done on. Actually,
isn't that like the anti-Jewish thing?
Yeah.
Yikes.
But so Will Eisner's invented graphic novels, and his last graphic novel was about that.
Yikes.
And basically showing what a fraud it was.
Oh, okay, that's cool then.
But when I've read graphic novels in the past, I've enjoyed it. But there was always a purpose to it. It was when I was a kid, I loved like Batman and fantasy stuff, but I just don't.
But
have
maybe because when I'm thinking about this concept of like women maybe liking fiction more, or being so. For me, I think I like people. That's what I'm learning, is that I like hearing people's stories. So I like biographies a lot of the time. People who I think might be interesting, but it's almost like in my real life, there's not a lot of exploration of certain, you know what I mean? Like everything is like task oriented. So it's like I need time to take myself outside of.
Would you also say that like it's like women, I mean, women recommend things to each other maybe a little more, like
maybe
in the history world, like like Robert is always, you got to read this history book, because it's the storyline and it's great, the historical writing, and it's really good. Is it maybe just that a lot of your guests have friends, so it's like an entry point where it's like, I read, Where the Crawdads Sing, and you got to read it.
I figured it out. It's because real life is so much worse for women. We're looking for an escape.
Thank you for saying that. Like so not like that. So I don't know how to verbalize it 100%, but I do think.
Because that's why I love Star Trek, because in the future it's not sexist. Like that's why I loved going there, because women were just people.
It's why I'm podcasting in real life.
Yeah.
Like it's like because everything is so yes, there's not like like I'm not gonna sit down and play video games. It's not my jam. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
like I think that sometimes reading can be that for a lot of women. So like you know, whether it's now we don't really get into like you know, romance novels and stuff like that. Maybe when I was younger because I didn't have access to real actual romance, and so it's more fascinating. But or you know, sex stories and stuff like that. But I think at this point, I think just taking yourself outside of just what the everyday normal. Yeah, it's like, wow, okay, I get to go somewhere else. Yeah, this feels very...
Anna says, books were what movies are right now. It is known women loved what would be rom-coms in book form, and it was becoming a problem.
Like the Jane Austen stuff.
Harry, I feel like men do have, like I'd say video games is definitely like a fantasy and escape. I mean...
Yeah. And which video games to a lot of people, certain video games, I should say, because the video game industry is large, just like any other type of industry. But video games sometimes do have like visual novels into them, and they also do have stories to tell, just more in an interactive fashion. And since men are more visual, they like to see different things, so video games will attract them. So they will pour into these really long video games that have really amazing fictional stories to tell. Like most men, like you probably haven't read the Iliad or won't even know what the heck Odysseus is. But I could probably go through different stories from like Final Fantasy 7 and 8 and a lot of different like RPGs games. Yeah,
I would say that. So I read a lot of history, but the history is an escape. It's not purposeful. It's almost like reading fiction. And the books that me and my friends recommend to each other, my fellow history nerds, they're always books that are written like Eric Larson is like the gold standard right now of, or David McCullough writing history in a way that's like a novel, like a fiction. And I think part of the escape is control, is that you know the outcome, so you can kind of pick the outcome that you want. As a way to kind of like, whereas if you're reading like politics, you're getting mad, you don't have any, you don't know the outcome of what this is going to be. It's a constant motion thing where like you sort of always sort of know how, if your uncle or granddad is into Hitler books and World War II, like they love getting into that subject and kind of finding the nooks and crannies of things. And like it is sort of that control thing. So, where it's sort of, like I don't have control over here in my future, but I can at least kind of understand more about this thing and kind of find those nuggets.
I also think when it comes to a lot of different men's friends groups, is like a lot of men don't have a lot of big like huge friend groups, especially
or any.
Oh, wow. So like that's
weird. Well, men are just less. We're evolved to be more social than men.
Yeah,
that just
so it can happen.
Yeah, 100%. That's why female autists are really hard to discover or diagnose. Is because women
we're just pronounced difficult.
Pronounced
because women keep updating. Men will just in a computer term is like if men have a social patch that's wrong, they'll just keep the same patch.
Right.
Well, women will just like, I just picked up a new patch for this other woman. I'll just update my social patch, and so it's just kind of keep masking it.
The statistic is like, go ahead.
But like the thing is I for low key started out from like just like them as just a group of men that I've been keeping. So the idea we would meet on Fridays and to keep meeting. We institute like trying to, because a lot of men are also touch starved, so we also make sure like we get hugs in a lot of these guys that come around. But the thing is like our group, like our Discord channel, is that we have like Loki Jam has a massive database of mangas and graphic novels that we recommend to each other. Like we have read, we also have anime on there. Like, hey, these are things when people go like, what should I watch? And we go, here's the database. Look at this massive database. Please add into it. Producer Paul actually because he loves data, but he only likes data for his personal life. It's weird guy, but amazing but weird guy. And he helps procure and make sure the database stays up to date. But nice.
Yeah.
Well, I like that books bring people together. I mean, even though I feel like all of us might pick different books, I think I like the idea of reading as something that brings people together. And you have conversations with people you would never imagine having conversations with.
Because you all went on the similar journey. Like, that's the thing, because storytelling is it's why it's called the hero's journey.
Yeah.
Like, it takes you through it. So when it's done well, at the end of it, you're like, wow, that was amazing. I want to talk about this with somebody. Like, that was my biggest thing. Like, I get so excited about it and that's usually how we would recommend. Like, I'll be like, I need to talk about about this with somebody, so
Right.
you have to watch this or you have to read this because I want to get your
And
impressions
then when you're
of
this
it.
excited, I'm like, okay.
Yeah, what was
gonna read it,
the
yeah.
study that most men at 60 have their only friend is their wife?
Yes.
So see,
Women have a support group.
That's
Yep.
crazy.
Yeah.
And then, and Harry and I have
That's
always
sad.
talked about that because that's part of what we want to do here is like model healthy
Male
masculinity
relationships. That's good.
and male friendships. And so, Harry I've always argued like video games are kind of a problem. He's like, no, this is the thing that guys will use to bring together because it's almost like a
Yeah,
book
can
club.
be, for
It's
sure.
just a tool. It can be
Yeah.
used well or poorly.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Reagan the other day was like, who's your best friend? I don't know if you have a best friend.
Be
I'm
like, you, babe.
well, definitely
It's like don't
Harry,
say, and don't say me.
Harry, Jeremiah, Aaron.
That's a trick question. You're supposed to say her.
Yeah. Well, she was like, and don't say me.
Yeah, see, I knew she
It's
did
still a trick
that.
question. It's still a trick.
Because
It's a
she's
trap.
like, I go see Michaela every month, and I have but like, I'm like, but for me, like going and being with Harry every couple weeks, like this, like the activity of doing things, where it's like our
It
book
is more
club.
activity
But you
based
should-
for me.
Yeah.
It's like we sit
Yeah.
next to each other and do this similar thing. Whereas with us, it's more like we're sharing stuff. Like it's
Yeah.
more.
Yeah.
So I think it's more interpersonal. Because I do. I
Like, I
have
need to
tell
talk to my
husband
kids. I need to talk about my kids for 20 minutes.
That yes.
Yeah, like-
I will sometimes do that. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah,
But
I
I,
just
think
have
that
to-
it is self care though. Like, and I like that you're mentioning that men should take part in it because I'm always like, baby, if you talk to such and such, you get so wrapped up
even the
in your
friends he
work.
has now, like he would try to arrange stuff through you and our other friend. Like they
It
wouldn't even
always
want to
ends up being-
directly want to
yeah.
be like, "Hey, reach out."
I'm like, why don't you just text them?
And it's like, there's always this weird sort of thing where it's like you could just,
But I'm
yeah,
that friend though.
to
Like
be
I'm
a
the
friend
who
yeah.
will call
You want a
people I
friend, be a
haven't talked
friend.
to. Absolutely. But I think that also too men don't probably have on the other hand of that. I don't think that the expectations are as high. So
for men
for
to
for maintaining friendships, like you might get a needy friend. Like I don't do needy friends where it's like, well, you didn't call. Like we have lives and stuff, and so you know what I mean. There's some leeway for that.
Stuff falls off.
Absolutely, I think that's kind of understood with men too. Because even if it's been a long time, I'm sure if you called your friend up, they would be like, I haven't heard from you in a while.
I'm glad we talk about this now and things are changing and we can because I feel like that's one of my favorite things about reading is you see the same problems kind of over and over again.
Yeah.
To me, that's what, because you mentioned history, I love history.
Yeah.
Like to me, because the past is never past. We're still doing the same stuff.
I like historical
human beings.
fiction.
People make jokes about podcasting, but like this has become a huge way for guys to connect and build relationships, and it's the core of my friendship groups.
Right.
Sure, it is.
Yeah.
You too. It's a purpose to get together.
Yeah. And the other thing, what I've also noticed, because I'm always trying to get the circle to grow, to get bigger, and I'm always I'm more interacting with more dads now. That I'm becoming more of a dad. And a lot of the dads I'm noticing are just like women in the past have felt like I feel that I'm letting my family down or doing something that I'm doing something away from the family. And it's just like, it's okay to go off and be yourself. Well, there's a lot of women groups that are just help them to tell me like it's okay to have self-care, to go off outside of the family. And men just don't have that currently.
Let me echo what you just said because I went to a men's ministry group about 3 weeks ago on a Tuesday night. And it was 25 men who were all over 50, who were 50 or 60. Most of them had teenage kids. All but one was married, just suburban dads. And half of them felt guilty for being there.
Yep.
They felt, and it was the only outlet that they had to like vent their emotions. It was kind of sad, to be honest, and made me really appreciate you and all my friends, like where we can talk about, like I can text you yesterday and go like, hey, and you're like, hey, call me if you need me. These guys didn't have that. And by week 3, there were 8.
Yep.
And so they just, they find reasons not to come. But one dad expressly said like, I've got 3 kids. One of them is over the top. Like, I feel bad leaving my wife alone where she has to carry the load, where it's like, dude, you're going to pop, man. If you don't find some way to get community. I mean, it's just hugely important.
one of the dads we going is because I show his wife that like this is the other men that we hang out with, and just showing them like us all just being healthy and guys together, and when we game and so she helps force him out, like go hang out with him. It's fine. Get that. Heck
when
out of the
you
house.
see a study like last week where it's 63% of men under 20 are single and have no plans to date because they get all of their needs met online. That's an incredibly bad statistic, because what that means is that they're not going out and actually getting face-to-face community. They're not. I mean, if you have no interest in dating, it means that there's some piece of you that is not right. Like you're
not necessarily.
No. Here, let me finish, because I'm right, and you two want to jump on me, but I'm telling you I'm right.
For different reasons.
My life, when I was 25, I was one of these guys. I was 300 pounds. I lived in my mom's basement. I had no job. I had no health insurance. I had no interest in almost anything. I wasn't trying, right? And when you're just accepting kind of a hermit lifestyle and not pushing yourself, in your physical life, your mental life, your emotional well-being, your career, like that's what makes you attractive to not just women, but people in general. And when you go, I'm just not going to push, or I'm too uncomfortable, like with these things, like that's a red blinking light on the engine that one of those pieces of your life, your spiritual life, your hell, these things have to be in balance. And when I look at men today, I don't see that, especially when you talk to your female friends about their opportunities or for dating. They're like, guys are just shit.
Yeah, that's why people don't want to date.
Right.
Like, that's the thing too, because I don't think there's anything wrong. Like, I'm not really into dating right now, and it's not because I'm not trying. It's just terrible.
Right.
It's just.
Well, you're an exceptional person who has like.
Oh, thank you. Let's leave it there.
Yeah. Like,
End of story.
I stopped dating too, and it wasn't that I was in an unhealthy place. It's that I recognize that like I need to get off the treadmill because I keep hurting myself. I keep hurting other people. Like I need to focus on those areas of my life. And I need to
not everybody
wait
wants
for the
to be
right
coupled.
person.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't think everybody, because they always say there's somebody for everybody. No, there's not. Like, sometimes you're just going to be single, and that's fine.
There are exceptions, but 63% of men under 20 are not
Not under
wanting to
20.
be.
20, it's
Under
20
30, excuse me.
Under
Yes,
30,
thank
yeah.
you. Yeah.
But, all right, so, like, the statistic, you're looking at the statistic, and I want you to expand it out. So that was males, right? So, like, the 30%. Now, when you go to the flip side, the female statistic, what is it, 60% are registered?
I didn't see the
female statistic
side.
is flipped. It's almost doubled. Most of them are not single, because also the dating world is also different for men and women under the age of 30.
That's
under
true.
age of 30, most men, unfortunately,
are not fun to date.
they're also just shit. They don't have nothing
Because
to
of that,
They don't
yeah.
have nothing.
They're not fun to date because
they don't
they're
have. They have either a crappy job, so they're working 10 to 12 hours at some
Yeah.
place. They have barely any money. They have massive student loans to pay for, and the majority of women are wanting men to pay for everything for their the date and using them as foodie calls. So there's
Foodie
a,
calls.
there's a
calls.
so there's a
Yeah.
very toxic mentality with them. So it's like, why do I want to do that? But then again, there's also a massive pool of 30 to 50-year-old men that are dating 20-year-olds, and they're coming in with, well, I've got a car, I have, do you want to go date this guy? All he's got is, Natty Ice and an Xbox.
Natty
Come
Ice,
hang
take
out
it
with
back.
me. I'm going to go to Blend Bar Cigar. I'll pick you up in the Jag. Who are you going to hang out with?
I have a sister-in-law who is very bright, very intelligent. She's you two are very similar. She's on a college campus right now, and she's just like, there's nobody intellectually they're not funny, they're not smart. They're
Damn.
They're a little crazy.
So there was this book it was originally called Mate, and that was What Women Want, and it was born
By
out of
Tucker Max?
Yeah,
Yeah,
So
because
it-
I listened to his podcast, The Mating
the
Ground.
mating ground.
Yeah,
And let me
he
tell you
lays
what,
that out pretty well.
Kat, that changed my life because
Good.
it was
and that's why. Can we
Here,
shout
let
that
me
out?
fi-
'Cause
let-
it's- I'm listening to it right now. I'm re-listening to it. It
Are you
holds
really?
up so well. It holds. I mean, because it's still the same stuff going on.
I'm so excited that
I'm super excited too.
the the reality was like I had just gotten divorced. I was kind of like had a couple failed relationships, and I'm like, I just can't meet blah 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 blah. And I'm like, then
There's gotta be a better way.
I read that book, which was a response to The Game by Neil Gaiman.
Oh, which was gross.
Which is the negging, like putting you down, but also complimenting you.
Right. It's like that top was so pretty. They didn't have it in your size.
And I mean,
it's like you're almost as hot as your friend. Like it was that kind of stuff.
Yes, right. It's really
wildly insecure.
Much. But Tucker Max and evolutionary biologist Jeffrey Miller did this podcast and book that kind of like said the reason you're single is not because women hate nice guys. It's because you're fat, you're lazy, you're broke.
You hate yourself.
You hate yourself.
You don't see them as people.
Like,
that was the overarching theme was like you have to engage women as people first.
Right.
Because his advice was like make female friends. Like don't even go in with the idea of like I need to ravish this.
That was
right.
No, it was a great point that I've totally forgotten. That it was like your point of dating should be making friends. And like some of my best female friends still are people that I went out with that we just we connected, but it wasn't this was not my person I was going to marry, right? But and they have become like, you know, when we go out of town, my friend Michelle, we exchange each other's, you know, cat duties, right? Like
it's, you know, and I encourage Kat with that too. I'm always like, you know, you need more like male platonic friends. And I think that when we engage each other, like you're saying, like with no real expectations, like it should, just because we have genitals that are opposite does not mean they need to connect at any point in time. Like, why not? Let's just engage each other as people. Like, what do you think is interesting?
I would like that.
Are you low key calling Kat an incel?
I mean,
it's pronounced
maybe it's
femcel.
Yeah, it's pronounced femcel.
It's voluntary
for sure. But just in general, like I think I got a gift of having like two brothers. Like I had built-in platonic male relationships, so I wasn't like starved for this male attention. I saw how disgusting guys can be. I hear the stuff they can talk about.
Her brothers are pretty gross,
but on the other side, I know how wonderful they can be too. So like it's hard when you hear women saying really shitty things about men all of the time. When you're like, well, I mean, I know men that are great who take care of their families. Let me finish.
I'm sorry, because I'm going to agree with you.
Okay, you can do that. But I do feel like I think that there's some value there when you are prioritizing, you know, platonic relationships, because you learn so much about the opposite sex, and you really realize, I mean, at the end of the day, we want the same things. Sometimes it's in a different way, you know what I mean? Almost like, I'm not to be corny about like love languages, but everybody takes in things differently. So I think when you approach somebody just as a person first, that's going to be, you know,
that totally, that book and that approach totally dating became fun. And I went on like 150 first dates, and it was not about sex. It was, just fun.
Like me, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So what were you going to say to support my point?
I was just going to say,
tell me why I'm right.
I feel like the key for male-female relationships is you just have really low expectations, because men and women are just very different. Like men are they just do such weird things, and I don't know how they get there. And it's just so frustrating. A lot of times it's like, you know what? I think I'm going to curl up at home with a good book.
But see, if you have more platonic male relationships, you understand some of that stuff.
I feel like that's
more.
my fault, though.
I'm not saying it's no fault.
I think you made I was out with a girl once, and she goes, I can tell you have a sister.
You just know,
because
you just can feel it. It's such
she's
a
like,
gift, honestly.
you treat me well, and
like
guys that don't have
person.
sisters, or you have a sister, you treat women very well.
I have 4 sisters.
Wow, you treat them 4 times.
I didn't realize it was 4. Do you
have 4?
Any brothers?
I have 2 brothers.
Okay,
I have 2 brothers.
Nice.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's just it's a rare gift, and I always appreciated that. I always noticed like women who aren't around men that they have platonic relationships. It's a different energy you're giving off that you're not even aware of sometimes, and it's the same on the other side. I feel like
I will say, like, because like I weirded like even my girlfriends out because I'm willing to have platonic relationships with other, because I'm used to having this. My current wife was just like, I can't believe you're hanging out with these women. It's like, why? They're just my friends, you know. And it took a while.
What do these hussies want?
Reagan kind of has that, where Reagan's like, you talk to so many girls. I'm like, but these are people. These are platonic. that listen, we weren't we weren't having sex when I was single and available. We're
Right.
they're
Not
definitely
now.
not going to do that now.
Well, the
Okay, I
thing
can't use
hear
that.
from men, but a thing I often hear from men too, and why they have anxiety about their, wife or girlfriend having male friends, is that they're just waiting for. Because it was on some podcast the other day where they were like, "Call your male friend now and tell him you broke up with me and see what he says." You saw that, and it was like, "You finally left that," And I was like, "Yeah, it's It can be
Okay.
that, but sometimes I don't know. To
Some
me, I'm
women
too
are
old
like
now.
that.
I think.
Some women are like that.
Or
So
male
for
friends.
April Fool's
Thank you.
Day,
They are too.
my wife did that on Facebook and put it like we broke up, and I instantly had 2 female friends call me, and it was just like, oh my god.
You gotta let them go. Gotta let them go.
That is
Yeah.
maybe that's the flip side of the coin. They know how great you are, but I mean,
Maybe.
at the same time, you still have control over whether or not
yeah.
that is.
Oh, yeah.
So that's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
You still
Yeah.
have the autonomy to
Yeah.
say, okay.
But like
You
my
know,
wife,
it never lets you down. Books. Wow.
That's true, though.
Except sometimes they do. Sometimes they're
books, I
terrible.
was like, yeah, I've had terrible books.
What's the last book you had to just put down? It was
Is
like, I
Beyonce
can't
on
finish it. I can't finish this. This is just terrible.
I'd have to look at my Goodreads.
Because do you walk out of movies? I just learned there are some people who don't walk out of movies, like if they're bad.
Oh.
Everybody should know this. If you're sitting through a movie and you hate it, you can get up and leave and get your money back.
I will get up, refill my popcorn, and try to give that movie a chance.
Okay,
but
you're a Spartan. You're like,
But yeah, I have
to
gotten
this.
up and walked out of movies.
Do you get the money back?
What from? Oh yeah, I usually just ask if I can watch a different movie.
I see. You're a nice guy here.
I read like the intro and maybe the first chapter. There's a lot of books that I'm at 25% on or 10% on
Okay.
that I'm not going back to. If I finish a book, it's 4 or 5 stars. Like, unless it's
Okay.
really short. But
Okay.
yeah. All right. Well, we should start wrapping up. Tell people where they can follow you both. How shameless self-promotion time.
I think you should do it because this is who's going to be answering you if you reach
That's
out.
probably true, you guys. You guys can reach out to us. I would say IG is a good place to start. The Fat Podcast, also on YouTube. We have a link tree on both of those. You guys click that. Everything that we're attached to. I think you can find us just about anywhere except for SoundCloud.
Yeah,
so just
we haven't
search,
done SoundCloud
the
yet.
Fat Podcast, guys. Yeah, holler at us. Let us know if there's some
Yeah.
stuff you want us to review. Come over our way.
Harry asked me what episode should I start with. I, of course, said mine.
Yeah.
And then I said Dion. But what
Dion's
would
a
you
good one.
recommend if you're gonna recommend the podcast?
We reviewed X-Men Unlimited. I can't remember what the number was, but
It was
When you
last
recommend
September.
that one? Because
What?
that series I've made fun of for
I'm
years.
going to get your information and I'll send you the link to that
He
one.
said
Make it
I
super
made fun
easy for
For
you.
years, yeah.
Yeah,
It was me
because,
tolerating her talking
They had
about
like
it.
sad Cyclops on it, which
it was. It's a good one though. I captured.
Oh no, yeah, I got it. Yeah.
yes.
Okay,
no, make
yeah, please
fun
send
of
me
her.
that.
I want to see a
No,
nerd
no.
make fun of another nerd. That'd be great.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's all
nerd,
nerd
fight.
fight. All right, Harry. Final thoughts.
Let's see. One thing I wanted to do is say that the thing that helps me go through and chug through books is
Right.
because I get up at 4 a.m. every day, and that's
Oh,
my
no.
time that I get up and read. So
Okay.
I can easily get the dish, either unload or load the dishwasher, start coffee, and just sit down on my couch or go in my room and just read a book. It's
Mhm.
easier because the world's asleep, everything's like that. And then I can drink coffee and go somewhere and leave the room because I, probably would have been divorced if I sat and tried to read a book in the bedroom because, with the light being on, my wife wants to turn this light off.
I always like the writers are always like, I get up at 5:30 and have 2 uninterrupted hours, and I'm like,
It's
yeah,
great.
but I just can't do it. I gotta
I gotta sleep.
Yeah.
It's so
I gotta work too.
It's magical. Then I usually hit so I'm at LA Fitness, and I'll go to hot yoga early in the morning too.
Oh,
Right.
'Cause
man.
it's
Okay,
there.
Harry, you're super healthy. We get it.
He is. He's very well balanced. He's a very good friend
Wow.
because he's like a good constant. He's a
See,
good
you gotta-
dad. He's a
That's
good
good.
Better than you,
husband.
I'm telling you, you gotta have
Yeah.
something to aspire
He's always
to.
like, this is the moral thing that you should have done. Now apologize to your co-host.
That's
I'm a good
right. You
conscience,
do.
yeah.
We do.
I
We need
try.
that.
I try to be.
That's honorable. Trying
what's
is
up.
important.
All right. Well, if you like this podcast, then please share it. That is the best thing that you can do for any content creator. We thank you so much for listening here to We Are Libertarians on the Chris Spangle Show, and we will see you again in a couple weeks.
Thanks.
Bye, guys.